Today, we're going to talk about why letting go of perfectionism and embracing messy, imperfect action isn't only okay, but it's actually the fastest path to realizing your dreams. I'll share a story from my personal journey. I'll tell you about a client I've coached through perfectionist paralysis, and I'm going to offer you clear strategies to help you break free from the exhausting cycle of waiting. And by the end of this episode, you'll have clarity around why perfectionism keeps you stuck, actionable tools to help you move through these blocks, and maybe, just maybe, the inspiration and courage you need to take one imperfect step toward your dreams today. So grab your journal, settle in, and let's dive into the magic of messy progress, because the life you've been waiting for is ready and waiting for you right now. Let's go.
Welcome to How to Lose the Weight, the podcast for women ready to stop waiting for someday and live life now. I'm your host, Holly Toscanini, and I'm here to help you break free from perfectionism, self-doubt, and the someday mindset. Together, we'll dive into real conversations about self-trust, empowerment, and living authentically. If you're ready to reconnect with your intuition and step into your power, you're in the right place. Let's lose the weight and start living fully right now.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of How to Lose the Weight, your place to reconnect with your intuition, reclaim your confidence, and finally stop putting your life on hold. I'm your host, Holly Toscanini, and I'm genuinely so happy that you're here with me today. Now, before we jump into today's topic, I'm going to ask you a question and tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever felt paralyzed by perfectionism? You know what I mean? That feeling where every decision, every step forward has to feel just right, perfectly planned, and totally foolproof before you let yourself move forward. Have you ever found yourself putting off your dreams, waiting for a moment of perfect clarity that just never seems to come? Believe me, you're not alone in this. For years, I was right there with you. In fact, there was a time when the mere thought of even launching this podcast or sharing my voice publicly terrified me. Every single detail felt like it had to be flawless, the perfect topic, the perfect script, the perfect words, well, the perfect me. If it wasn't just right, it simply wasn't going to happen. The irony is, the more I chased perfection, the further away my dreams seemed. I felt stuck, overwhelmed, and truthfully, exhausted, until one day something clicked, and I realized that all that careful planning wasn't helping. It was actually holding me back. What I needed wasn't more planning, more preparation, or more polishing. What I needed was to trust my intuition enough to take one small, imperfect step forward. And when I finally did, that messy, imperfect action, well, it became the key that unlocked everything. So let's dig a little deeper into what's really behind our struggles with perfection. Because understanding where this urge comes from is essential if we're ever going to break free from its grip. First, I want to acknowledge that perfectionism affects many of us, but especially women at midlife. Now, this isn't by chance. By the time we've reached our 40s or 50s or even our 60s, many of us have spent decades internalizing the subtle and sometimes not so subtle messages that society sends our way. You know what I'm talking about, the old good girl conditioning. And from the time we're little girls, we've been encouraged, or should I say trained, to follow rules, please others, be agreeable, and above all, be likable. We learned early on that if we could just keep things perfect, we'd be rewarded with acceptance, approval, and love. Now, whether at home or school or in the workplace, this good girl script quietly convinced us that perfection was the safest, smartest, and most acceptable route. But now, at midlife, that good girl armor isn't serving us anymore. In fact, it's become heavy, restrictive, and exhausting. Instead of bringing us closer to what we truly desire, freedom, authenticity, fulfillment, it keeps us stuck, afraid of making even the slightest mistake. Now, underneath that conditioning lies something even deeper, the fear of judgment, failure, and rejection. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you held back from doing something you really wanted to because you were terrified of what people might think or say? Maybe it's starting a project, or even posting something just real and honest on social media. Maybe it's finally sharing your truths or talents. Or maybe it's just the everyday pressure of maintaining a perfect image at work, with friends, or even in your relationships. We're often paralyzed, not because we aren't capable, but because we're afraid our imperfections will be seen, judged, and criticized. Let me share something important with you. You are not alone in feeling this way. Almost every single woman I've worked with, coached, or befriended in some way has had some variation of these fears. And I've been there too, more times than I care to admit. The thing is, perfectionism isn't about having high standards or wanting to do well. It's actually rooted deeply in our fear of vulnerability, of being truly seen as we are with all our human flaws and beautiful imperfections. Another powerful driver of imperfectionism is the immense personal and professional pressure we put on ourselves, especially as we get older. I mean, by this point in our lives, we're juggling multiple responsibilities, high expectations, and endless to-do lists. Maybe you're a caregiver to aging parents, navigating that complex relationships with our grown children, or still striving to reach career milestones that you've set for yourself. In this effort to manage all of these roles perfectly, we become pretty harsh critics of our own efforts. And the pressure isn't just external, it's often an inside job. I mean, we've set impossibly high standards for ourselves, believing that perfection equals value, worthiness, and success. I mean, is any of this resonating with you right now? Have you ever found yourself stuck in indecision, endlessly analyzing every possible outcome, afraid to choose because the risk of a mistake felt overwhelming and maybe terrifying? Or do you even procrastinate? I mean, that's definitely my thing. Waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect circumstance to finally take action, only to realize that time slips away while you stay frozen in place? Maybe your struggle shows up as relentless self-criticism, your inner voice telling you things like, you're not good enough, or who are you to do this, or if it's not perfect, why bother? These are all telltale signs of perfectionism at work. They're the invisible chains keeping us tethered, holding us back from fully living our lives and embracing our true potential. And if you're feeling kind of seen right now, if your heart is nodding along in recognition, I want you to know something incredibly important. You're not alone. In fact, you're in really good company because we have all been there, myself included. And recognizing this pattern is the first step to breaking free from it. What we truly want isn't perfection, it's connection, fulfillment, joy, authenticity, and freedom. And none of those beautiful, life-giving things come from flawless execution or constant approval. Instead, they come from courageous authenticity and from trusting ourselves enough to take messy, imperfect steps forward, even when we're uncertain and even when we're afraid. So let's give ourselves permission right here and now to acknowledge that perfectionism isn't helping us thrive. Let's gently and compassionately and even courageously begin to shift our focus away from perfect outcomes and toward the intuitive, messy progress that genuinely moves us closer to our dreams. Now, I'm going to take you back to a time not too long ago, back when I was getting ready to launch this podcast and my first coaching website. I felt incredibly excited to step out and share my passion for helping women reconnect with their intuition and reclaim their confidence. But I'm going to be honest, beneath that excitement, there was a deeper emotion, something I'm sure you can relate to. Overwhelming, gut-churning fear. I remember sitting down to record my first ever podcast episode. I'd written it and rewritten that script so many times, trying to capture exactly what I wanted to say. And when the moment finally came, I set up my microphone, I pulled out that carefully perfected script, I hit record, and I froze. My voice shook, my stomach clenched, and my mind raced with thoughts with, what if this isn't good enough? What if people think I sound ridiculous? And who am I to talk about intuition and confidence when I don't feel either of those things right now? I deleted that recording and started again, and again, and again. I actually lost track of how many times I re-recorded that first episode, desperately chasing some elusive standard of perfection. Even when I finally got a version I liked enough, I obsessed over editing, cutting out every tiny stumble or awkward pause, anything that could make me appear less than polished and less than perfect. And this obsession wasn't limited to the podcast. I mean, I was also building a new coaching website that should have been a pretty simple way for potential clients to connect with me. It became an exhausting battle against imperfection. I agonized over every tiny detail, every word, every color, every image, every photo of myself. Honestly, the photos were the hardest part. I mean, everyone triggered an avalanche of insecurities around body image. I scrutinized how I looked from every angle, worrying endlessly about how other people would see me. Was I thin enough? Was I professional enough? Was I attractive enough? Could anyone take me seriously if I just didn't look the part? In reality, I was hiding behind perfectionism because deep down, I was terrified. I was terrified of being judged. I was terrified of rejection, terrified of ridicule, embarrassment, and criticism. I was convinced if I could make everything flawless, then maybe, just maybe, I'd be safe from those things. Maybe then people would like me. They'd trust me. They'd accept me. But as the weeks turned into months, I started noticing something important. This pursuit of perfection wasn't getting me any closer to launching my podcast or my website. It was just keeping me paralyzed. It was keeping my voice silent, my dreams stuck in place, and my self-confidence locked behind an unreachable wall of self-imposed standards. And in that moment, it finally hit me. I wasn't striving for perfection because it would make my work better. I was using perfection as permission to be myself, permission to finally be seen and heard. But perfection didn't give me permission. It only kept me small and safe and stuck. It kept me from showing up and being me. And when I finally admitted this truth to myself, something shifted. I knew I needed to let go of perfectionism if I ever wanted to truly make an impact. So I made a decision, a simple but powerful one. I created what I called my 2-take rule for making videos, recording podcasts, or putting myself out there in any kind of way. And here's how that works. I'm allowed 2 takes to record or film something, only 2. Then I choose the best one, and I've got to move forward. I got to post that no matter what. No more obsessing, no more endless editing, no more hiding behind perfection. I'm going to tell you, at first, following that rule was hard, really hard. But with each imperfect step forward, something incredible happened. I realized that authenticity, not perfection, is what truly resonates with people. My people didn't care if I stumbled over a word or two. I mean, my listeners and my coaching clients, they didn't care if my photos weren't perfectly airbrushed, if I had a wrinkle here or there or a blemish. In fact, I kind of found the opposite was true. They appreciated the realness, the honesty, and the no BS imperfection. They saw themselves reflected in me. That raw authenticity is really what helped them trust me, and together we grew in ways I never imagined possible. But perhaps the most profound shift was how I saw myself. As I let go of the constant pressure to be perfect, I began healing deeply rooted body image insecurities. I reclaimed my confidence, not by achieving some idealized version of myself or who society told me I was supposed to be, but by embracing who I already was, worthy, capable, and enough, exactly as I am. Today, I happily call myself a recovering perfectionist because, let's face it, this is a lifelong practice. And here's what I know for sure now. Perfectionism is not your friend. It is not your protector. It's simply fear wearing a very clever disguise. It stops you from taking risks, from showing up fully in your own life, and from shining your unique and brilliant light. And guess what? You don't need perfection to give you permission to be yourself. You're already enough. Your intuition is already guiding you. It's just waiting for you to trust yourself enough to take the next messy, imperfect step forward. All right, get ready to take some notes because we're about to talk about why imperfect action truly is your secret weapon and why it's absolutely essential in creating momentum toward your dreams. Because here's the truth, my friends. The magic of imperfect action isn't about getting things exactly right. It's not about hitting some arbitrary standard of flawless execution. The power of imperfect action is simply that it moves you forward. And that forward movement, that's where the magic happens. Now, let me introduce you to something I love sharing with my clients. It's called the confidence action loop. Think of it like this beautiful self-sustaining cycle. First, you take small actions, just tiny steps, manageable things you can do even if you're feeling uncertain or nervous. These aren't big, overwhelming steps. They're gentle movements forward. Maybe it's finally hitting publish on a blog post or sending a heartfelt email or just recording a quick down and dirty video. Right? Not too dirty. That's not that kind of podcast. But here's the magic. When you take even the smallest step forward, it naturally leads you to small wins. You get positive feedback. You realize the task wasn't as scary or difficult as you thought it was going to be. You notice that you survived it, and you even enjoyed parts of it. See, these small wins, no matter how tiny they might seem, are so powerful. They prove that you're capable and courageous. And guess what happens next? Those small wins lead directly to increased confidence. Suddenly, you're standing a little taller. You're trusting yourself a little bit more, and you're realizing, hey, I can actually do this. You start feeling the thrill of possibility rather than the weight of heavy fear. Then, that newly founded confidence propels you to take more action. Slightly bigger, braver steps the next time. Maybe you speak up more authentically in a meeting, or you finally share that business idea you've been dreaming about with a friend or a mentor. And those bigger, bolder actions lead to even bigger wins. Now you're seeing tangible progress in your life. Doors start opening, opportunities start flowing, and before you know it, you're deep into meaningful, intuitive action. Each time you move through this loop, you create powerful momentum that effortlessly carries you toward your dreams. Now, I want you to imagine something really exciting. Instead of being caught up in perfectionism, you're now riding this wave of momentum created by your own courageous, imperfect action. Every small step leads to greater alignment and authenticity in your life. And speaking of alignment, this is a key piece of the puzzle. When you take action guided by your intuition, it becomes so much easier to release the fear of imperfection. Why? Because intuitive actions come from deep inside you. They're aligned with who you truly are and not who you think you should be or what others expect from you. When you follow your intuition, the focus naturally shifts away from how perfectly can I do this and becomes more about how authentically can I show up right now. You stop worrying so much about getting it right. And action, it's exactly how you build true confidence and lasting momentum. So, my friends, let's gently release the tight grip of perfectionism. Let's commit to taking those first small, intuitive actions, no matter how messy or uncertain they might feel. Because the moment you allow yourself to move forward imperfectly is the moment you step into a life of deeper authenticity, greater joy, and powerful momentum towards your dreams. Now, I told you I'd share a story about a client, so I want to introduce you to my client. I'm going to call her Jennifer, who discovered firsthand how imperfect action transformed her from stuck and fearful to liberated and unstoppable. When Jennifer and I first started working together, she was in her mid-50s, and she was a highly accomplished executive who'd spent decades excelling in a demanding corporate environment. Now, from the outside, Jennifer appeared confident and poised and successful, but internally there was another story playing out, one filled with frustration, self-doubt, and this exhausting quest for perfectionism. See, Jennifer had a secret. She had a passion project she'd been dreaming about for years. She wanted to design and sell handmade jewelry. She loved creating these beautiful pieces, and it was a deeply intuitive, fulfilling process for her. And her friends admired the things that she made. I mean, they were always really enthusiastic about encouraging her to share her talent. But Jennifer never felt ready, not ready enough. Each time she considered sort of launching this jewelry business, the perfectionist voice inside her would whisper, "It's not good enough. You're not a real artist. And the jewelry, it's just not perfect yet." And this inner dialogue, it was relentless. She told herself she needed a flawless website, a professional quality photos, and perfect inventory of pieces before she could even consider sharing her dream publicly. And so month after month, year after year, she got stuck. She just remained paralyzed by the fear of imperfection. And her passion project, something that truly brought her joy, creativity, and meaning in her life, it stayed hidden away, just collecting dust, never fully seeing the light of day. And when Jennifer reached out to me, she was sort of exhausted by her own hesitation. And she said, "Holly, I can't move forward. Every time I try, perfectionism gets in the way. What if nobody likes my jewelry? What if I fail? What if they laugh or judge me?" And I understood exactly how she felt because, as you know, I had been there too. So together, we began gently exploring what was just beneath that perfectionism. What were the fears of being judged, or the fears of failing, or feeling vulnerable? What was all that really about? And then we talked about how imperfect action, guided by her intuition rather than fear, could really become her path to freedom. And one day during a coaching call, Jennifer had a powerful realization. She said, "I'm tired of waiting. I've spent years stuck waiting for everything to feel perfect, and I'm finally seeing how that's kept me small and unhappy. I think I just want permission to do this messy." So I said, "Permission granted." Together, we developed a new approach, what we called her soft launch. Rather than announcing her jewelry business to the world with a big fanfare, we chose something a little more low key, a little simple, and a lot less scary. She would quietly create just a basic no nonsense website, upload a handful of pieces that she really loved, just enough to share with a very small circle of trusted friends and family. No big announcement, no flashy marketing, just a gentle, intuitive step forward. Was she still nervous? Absolutely. But because the pressure of perfection was off, she finally felt free enough to move forward. She quietly launched her website, choosing progress over perfection for the very first time. And almost immediately, something remarkable happened. She started getting some positive feedback. Enthusiastic, heartfelt compliments from friends who just loved her jewelry and couldn't wait to buy it. Within days, she made her first sale, and then her second and her third. And each order, each compliment boosted her confidence dramatically. Suddenly, the fear that had held her captive for so long actually began to melt away. And, over the next several weeks, she really blossomed emotionally and creatively. And the positive feedback she got from her customers really encouraged her to keep going, to take more intuitive, imperfect steps forward. I mean, yeah, she gradually improved her website and got better photos and even started sharing her work a little bit on social media. But the difference now was huge. She was no longer waiting for everything to be perfect before she took that first step. Instead, she trusted her intuition and allowed herself to show up authentically, exactly as she was. Now, I remember the day Jennifer called me filled with excitement. She said, "I finally feel free. I spent years thinking that perfection was the key to my success, but all that perfection ever did was keep me stuck. Imperfect action is what's given me true fulfillment and happiness, and I can't believe how empowered I feel now that I've stopped waiting for permission." Now, Jennifer's transformation was profound. By trading perfectionism for intuitive, imperfect action, she reclaimed her creativity. She rediscovered joy and truly liberated herself from fear. She learned firsthand that messy, authentic progress brings a lot more fulfillment than perfectionism ever could. Plus, she now has a side hustle that she absolutely loves. So here's what I want you to take away from Jennifer's story. If you're holding yourself back, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect project, or the perfect version of yourself, you're likely missing out on the joy, the growth, and the deep satisfaction that comes from moving forward, even when things feel uncertain or messy. Jennifer's journey really beautifully illustrates the truth we all need to hear. Imperfect action isn't settling or failing. It's courageous, it's powerful, and deeply liberating. And just like Jennifer discovered, your breakthrough might be closer than you think. So, now it's your turn. We've talked a lot about why imperfect action matters. We've shared stories about how it works in real life, and now I want you to feel empowered to apply it directly to your life, right here, right now. I'm going to give you 3 very simple, doable steps you can use immediately to start building momentum and experiencing the power of messy, intuitive progress. You ready? Step 1. Identify just one small action toward a goal you've been avoiding. Yes, just one. Maybe it's sending that email you've been writing or rewriting in your head, or posting that first Instagram reel, or taking that tiny first step toward a project you've been dreaming about for months. It doesn't have to be a big action. In fact, it's even better if it's something pretty manageable. The key is simply choosing one thing you can do today, right now. Step 2, I want you to set a timer for just 10 minutes. That's right, only 10 minutes. Your task is to focus entirely on that small action without editing yourself, without second guessing or trying to make it perfect. For those 10 minutes, just let yourself create, write, or record, or take action freely. This step is all about teaching yourself that action doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. Progress truly does happen in the moments you give yourself permission to move forward without hesitation. Step 3, start a simple daily habit of celebrating your small wins. Maybe every night, take just a minute to acknowledge and honor yourself for any imperfect action you took that day. Did you send the email? Did you finally hit publish? Did you try something new or brave? Celebrate that. Recognizing your courage builds confidence, and it reinforces the momentum that you've started to create. And through all of this, I want you to keep reaffirming the power of your intuition. Listen inwardly for guidance on what feels right, authentic, and aligned for you. Then trust yourself enough to simply begin. Because here's a powerful truth I know from my very own journey. Your intuition doesn't ask for perfection. It simply asks for trust. Trust yourself enough to start exactly where you are today. Imagine how it would feel tonight when you lay your head down on your pillow, knowing you've finally taken an imperfect step toward your dream. Remember, my friends, your imperfect action is always enough, and your dreams are counting on you to start right now. Now, as we wrap up, I want you to pause and truly hear what I'm about to say, because maybe it's something you haven't allowed yourself to fully believe yet. You don't need to wait for permission or perfection. Right here, right now, exactly as you are, you already have everything you need to start taking imperfect, courageous action. Everything. Your dreams don't require perfection. They just need your willingness to begin. Your intuition, that wise, steady voice inside you, it's already guiding you forward, asking gently and patiently for your trust. Give yourself permission to embrace messy progress, to take those small steps, even when they feel uncertain, even when they feel scary. Because the life you've been waiting for, the life you deeply deserve, is waiting on the other side of your willingness to simply begin. Trust yourself, trust your journey, and remember, The magic happens when you finally release the pressure of perfection and step fully into the power of your beautiful, authentic, imperfect self. You're ready. I believe in you. Now it's your turn to believe in yourself too. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me today. Truly, it means the world to me that you're here, listening, learning, and courageously stepping forward into your own life. And if you're ready to keep this momentum going, and I hope you are, I have something special just for you. Head over to my website and download your free ebook, Activate Your Intuition, 3 Steps to Reclaiming Inner Wisdom, plus a bonus resource, your very own permission slip to show up messy. These tools are going to guide you into deeper intuitive living and empower you to keep taking those courageous, imperfect steps. I'm also going to include the links in today's show notes. Also, come connect with me over at Instagram at Holly Toscanini. I would absolutely love to hear about the messy, imperfect actions you're taking this week. Share your journey with me. You could even use the hashtag #HowToLoseTheWeight. Let's celebrate each brave step together. And don't miss the next episode. I'm going to be diving into permission to pivot, how to reinvent yourself without losing your mind. If you've been feeling called to make change, but you're not sure where to start, this episode is for you. Remember, you are enough. Your intuition is powerful and your dreams matter. Keep showing up imperfectly. I'm cheering you on every step of the way. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to How to Lose the Weight. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you found value in this episode, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It really helps the show reach more women like you who are ready to step into their power. For more insights and inspiration, follow me on Instagram at Holly Toscanini or visit hollytoscanini.com. Until next time, remember, stop waiting and start living.